Welcome to Southern Soul Chats, where this season we will be diving into the stories of individuals who have navigated the deeper waters of faith. I'm your host, Dr. Miranda Ferguson, and together we'll explore the journeys of people who've taken that courageous step forward in their faith. Get ready to be inspired as we uncover the incredible stories of unwavering belief and the remarkable impact it's had. If you're excited to join us on this faith-filled exploration, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you never miss an episode. Let's step forward. Hey y'all, welcome to today's episode. Today's episode is called From Chains to Change. And this episode, we are sitting down with our guest, Lauren Butler, who is generously sharing her journey, a story that's all about the ups, the downs, and the spaces in between. Think of it as a real life tale that mirrors those stories we've all heard about. You know, the ones filled with struggles, redemption, and a whole lot of resilience. So adjust your volume, get comfy, and join us for a chat that's all about life, lessons, and finding God in the in-between moments. So thank you, Lauren, for being here today. I appreciate you coming.
Thanks for having me. I'm a little nervous, but I'm excited.
That's okay. So at least, I asked you last year about doing it, and we were going to do it last year, but then it got shuffled and waffled, which I believe is God's timing. So that gave you plenty of time.
Oh yeah. Been preparing ever since.
I know you've been every night studying for it, right? Just writing. And I love that about you. Thank you so much. It means the world to me. So Lauren's story is very powerful. It talks a lot about her journey through some struggles in her teenage years up through her adult years. Just a warning, a trigger warning, I guess, is that we will be talking about some sensitive topics, drugs, jail, all the good stuff. And so if that's a trigger for you, or if you have children in the car while you're going to work, you might want to watch this, listen to it, whatever, at a later time. So there was our warning. That's all you get because we're moving forward. So it's going to be a great discussion. I can't wait. So Lauren, why don't you tell the listeners who you are and just a smidge, don't give it all away, just like a tiny smidge about who you are and what you do.
All right. Well, I am Lauren Butler. I work for a nonprofit in Houston that houses the homeless. We offer case management to help people rise out of the mentality of homelessness. I serve with my friends at church, and yeah, that's my smidge.
That's her smidge. And let me tell you, she's really good at what she does. And I'm not going to tell you how I know that, but I do know it. And I am grateful that she is working to help people get off the streets. And because what you do is really amazing. I don't know if anybody ever tells you that, but
thanks.
It's really great. So we're going to just jump into it. You ready?
Sounds good.
All right, great. Mm-hmm. So let's talk. So what I know about your story, all the things I know really start more in your teenage years, which pretty much are years that suck for everybody.
Right.
But I want to back up like I do with all of our other people who've come through. I always ask pretty much the same question. Like when you were brought up, were you brought up in a Christian home? Like what was your family? What was life like? What you can remember like pre those years, right? In your early development as a child, like set the stage for what that life was like for Lauren as a child.
Sure. So my family life growing up was really volatile. My parents divorced when I was pretty young, like 8 years old. And before that, my father was just drunk and very toxic environment. There was not religion. The religion that there was, it went all over the place. So it started off that my mom would bring us to the Methodist church for Christmas Eve services, for Easter, etc. But then as I grew up, she turned to teaching me about evolution. She turned to that. And so I learned a lot more about the sciences of life. And she was not a believer in God for so long when it was just the two of us. And then it was my dad finally found Christ when I was a young teenager. And so he kind of tried to drag me into that as he fell into it really hard. So it just went back and forth a lot. There was nothing steady in my life that had to do with religion.
So not really concrete, just kind of like visiting on the holidays and
oh yeah,
and then whatever was a free for all.
Yeah, I mean sometimes I was at the Catholic church for holidays, sometimes we were at the Methodist church for holidays, sometimes Baptist, sometimes none. It was all over the place.
So do you feel like and when we get in your story in a second, do you feel like a lot of that was the basis for the teenage years? Like, do you feel like the home life, the up and down that a lot of that came from that, your childhood upbringing?
Sure. Yeah. When I look at the psyche of it, for sure, I think that it has a lot to do with the choices I made later had a lot to do with how I felt unseen and unloved and just wanted to feel like I belonged somewhere.
Right. Okay. So you ready to jump into the whole story?
Sure.
Okay. So you can start wherever you want to start.
Okay.
But I'm going to let you have it.
Okay. So when I was about 15, I started dating this guy that introduced me to partying. And the partying for him had already escalated to something really serious, but I didn't realize it. And so before I knew it, I was trying things to keep his attention and because that's what he was interested in. And so I wanted him to think I was interested too, and so I suddenly started really hard stuff as a young kid, 16 years old. I was, doing cocaine and overdosed on cocaine when I was 16, went to rehab for, I think, 45 days or so. I had done pretty bad in school at that point for a little short amount of time. So when I finally re-entered school, the teachers that I had, luckily, they knew that they just believed I was not that person. And so they gave me an opportunity to make up for it. I somehow passed 10th grade, moved on to 11th grade, and found myself kind of getting into trouble, but not with drugs or anything. So my mom forced me to move in with my dad as a consequence. And it was a consequence.
So your dad was your punishment.
Yes. If that says anything.
That's parenting 101. There you go. This is the how not to parent episode.
But honestly, at the time, it's really what I needed. I'm so grateful for that time in my life because he was so hard. He was so hard on me and taught me some invaluable lessons. So I got my act together, and my 11th grade year, I really turned things around with my grades. I was doing better. I was in some drug youth groups and stuff with people, working. I graduated high school early because I just could not be there anymore.
Right.
I could not handle it anymore. So I did whatever I had to that summer to graduate early. Found myself in a different relationship with somebody that was not very motivated, but it turned out we went into a long-term relationship with each other. We were young. I had no idea he wasn't motivated. That wasn't the word I was using for it then. You know what I mean? Yeah. I wasn't looking at
right.
like what this man could bring to my life.
Just in the moment.
Yeah. I mean, and it was 5 years. We grew up together, but in those 5 years we became very toxic. I ended up not finishing with college, dropped out because I was with this guy that didn't care about that stuff at all. He was using drugs again suddenly, and then I kind of fell into that with him. Started getting into trouble with the law when I was 18.
Now, when you say getting into trouble with the law,
yeah,
what does that mean exactly?
Yeah, it was so petty when I was younger, but started a record, and it started a reputation with the police department in Fort Bend County. So they had their eye on me. We were in Sugar Land at the time. It was a small little town, and they were, they were everywhere. So, I ran from a party and somebody told on me, got caught. That went on my record as somebody who now runs from the police. So I've got an evading case on my record, which nobody asks you why that happened. I ran from a party. No, they just say, oh, you're going to run from the police. I got caught with pot, got arrested for that. But those little things that were on my record made a difference in my life. Jobs saw, even though they were misdemeanors, they saw that I was young and I already had a record. And so I was losing jobs. I was not able to get jobs. I was with, somebody who
wasn't out trying to get jobs either.
Wasn't out trying to get jobs. Yeah. Yeah. Again, so grateful for the valuable lessons I learned during that time. And, so anyways, I ended up breaking up with him.
Okay, so hold on. At that point, you said he had gotten back into drugs. So were you back into like drugs, or was this just like recreational?
No, it was recreational stuff for me, but he was using pain pills and ecstasy and stuff. And I was doing some of that stuff here and there, but I wasn't snorting cocaine till I was dying.
Right.
Again. So that's
a plus.
Yeah.
So you broke up and so now he's gone. You got all these things happening.
So then I got sick in my early 20s, and we couldn't figure out what it was for seemed like years, but it was probably a year and a half. A lot of specialist doctors stuff. Finally found a doctor that figured out what it was, and I had quick surgery. I had 5 things they had to do during the surgery, and he prescribed me pain pills and Klonopin, and I was immediately addicted. I had a very addictive personality. So when I liked something, it just took one taste of it and I was hooked. So that's what it was for me in Vicodin. That took me on a hidden and secretive life of using pills for, I would say 4 years or so. And nobody really knew I was doing it. It was really easy for me to hide because the doctors were prescribing it.
Right.
And they didn't question anything. They wrote prescriptions. If I came back and I was too early, they were like, no, that's okay. Still writing them for me. But my addiction escalated. And so I was, at that point, stealing things to sell to get more than I, was prescribed. Taking things from my family members so that I could sell it to get more pills. And so that was...
Were you working during this time?
I was working, and I was in school for medical billing and coding.
So you were able to work, go to school, hide an addiction for 4 years.
Yeah, the school wasn't for 4 years. The schooling was just a certification, but it was part of it. But yeah, about 4 years of that hidden life.
Nobody noticed?
Nobody noticed.
In your personality?
I think that I just had changed so much, so many times from like teenage years till then anyways, that they were just like, okay, this is just another weird part of Lauren. Nobody really questioned it.
Oh my gosh. Here we go.
Yeah. I guess I was really good at, hiding it. I guess I can't really explain, how I got away with it for so long.
Were you still going to jail during this period?
Yeah. Yeah. I got,
cause I'm guessing jail, started back at 18 and it just was like the little things, like you said, like ran from a party. Oh, that's a charge.
Yeah. Then I got caught stealing from a store.
That's a charge.
Yep. Got a little assault charge. Yeah, assault charge. So it was a misunderstanding. I was at a store that I was stealing from, and the lady went to go. She had locked me in the store, and I was not accepting that. I'm like, you cannot
clearly
hold me hostage here, right. Okay?
Especially to call the police.
Right. Okay. So I went to go open the door, and she put her body in front of it, and then so I grazed her. And she said that I assaulted her, and somebody at the cash register had seen me graze her. I was not trying to hit the woman, but I got a charge for assault. I was in the wrong period.
Right.
I was, no doubt.
And when they saw your record, I'm sure it was just
absolutely.
Like, really, we're not even fooling with you.
Right.
Yeah.
Even though they were petty charges, it really just changed my life so much. And so got the assault charge. Now somebody sees something on my record or I say I have an assault charge and they're like, oh my gosh. And I'm like, I swear I didn't hit anybody. Surprisingly.
Yeah. I mean, gosh, people, can I just tell you the story real quick? Oh my gosh. Can I have you sign right here, officer, that I did not hurt anybody? Thank you.
Right.
Take this everywhere you go.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. Yeah. So
that way to go, Lauren. Just get you an assault charge. There you go. Throw it in the mix. But I get you, but you're right. Cause like, so let's just being honest here. Like, I've never been in jail. When I was in high school, I got really close to probably getting in a lot of trouble, but I got out of it. It was like when those same things. I was at a party. We all tried to hide and run. We got caught. They made us call our parents instead. Blah, blah, blah. Right.
Yeah.
But it could have gone a different direction. But like, that's my closest run in.
Yeah.
With the police.
Thank goodness.
So for a person like me who doesn't think about that, right? Because it's never been a part of my life. I did way other stupid things in a whole different direction that shaped and modeled all my life. But as you're saying that, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, hey, you don't think about that. Something that's small and there is a story behind it. It doesn't matter, because once they slap that title that goes with that story, it follows you now.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's always a part of who you are.
Right. The world has labeled me.
Yeah. Period.
Right.
It doesn't matter about the little parts of the story they don't know. Like, they automatically assume the worst.
Yeah. Still to this day.
Yeah. And even though that might have been a bad period in your life, which was like the worst period in your life, it still just always goes with you.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Let that be a lesson, people.
Okay. Please.
This is Lauren and I giving you lessons today. Okay. So now we're hooked on, we got pain pills because we had a surgery. And for 4 years, the doctor just thinks you still need pain management.
That's wild.
And during that time, just like any addiction, trying to get more, there are more decisions that are made that are not great.
Right.
So here we go. And by now, okay, because what I know about your story is, like you said, like 25 times you were in jail.
Yeah.
So are we talking about 25 times in a span of 18 to 25, 26? That's a lot of times.
Yeah. Yeah. Some of them I don't have a charge for. Thank goodness. Sometimes they would just arrest me and...
Like under just, it's a possibility.
No, I should have gotten a charge. But
God's grace.
Yes, thank you. But there were just times when there were things I was doing that they were trying to get me to help them figure out bigger fish.
Right.
And so I was just a small fish, and they just be like,
yeah.
So thankfully I don't have 25 charges on my record, but I still have a colorful record indeed.
Still seen it 25 times.
Yes.
There you go.
Yeah.
So all of this is mounting. We're mounting. You're 26-ish.
24.
Oh, cool. We haven't made it there yet. Okay. So we're 24.
Yeah.
So what happens next?
So somehow in there, I got introduced to a different kind of drug. And it was Adderall, which my doctor also prescribed me because I told her that I needed it. And so she just wrote it. And so that took me in a path towards, all totally different drugs. And so something happened when I was about 24. I was working at a doctor's office and I got fired, and it was definitely needed, but it sent me into an identity crisis. I suddenly felt like there was no other direction I was going to go. I didn't know what to do. I knew that the people were going to come asking questions. My family members were going to be asking what happened. What's your next step? I didn't have an answer to the next step. I didn't feel like I was going to be able to, I just felt the weight of the world suddenly. And so I packed a bag and I left my house and I didn't return. and I didn't call anybody. I went to stay with a couple of friends that I had known over the years, and they introduced me to methamphetamines that night. And that was the catalyst that eventually led to my imprisonment several years later. So I just packed my bags, left everybody behind, didn't call my dad, didn't call my mom, didn't call my best friends, didn't tell them anything.
Just disappeared. So, okay, up to your disappearance. Mm-hmm. Were there people in your life who saw the ups and downs? Like they saw the job here, lost there. They knew the struggles. They saw, the different jail times. Like, was there any, like, were they trying to encourage or help or steer away? Or were you just kind of out there by yourself having to walk through all that? Like, was your family saying anything? Because, like, one thing, they don't know you're on pills for 4 years. They don't get it. But they saw all these other things. They had to know Lauren went to jail again. Oh, Lauren lost a job over here.
Yeah.
What were they doing during this period?
So that's a loaded question because I think that, so my mom remarried when I was younger, and my stepdad started, he saw that I was, obviously he saw everything I had done, and he asked me to not be around his children. And that was when I was a young teenager. And I when I was still a teenager, and I understood that, but that drove a little bit of a wedge between me and that part of my family because he didn't want me around his children.
Right. So it was a rejection. It was like another rejection.
For sure.
And that was already something you struggled with anyway.
Yeah. So over the course of the next several years, as I'm doing jail and I'm making other bad choices and relapsing, getting sober, I didn't tell family and best friends or anything too much. I kind of isolated in that relationship. And so they didn't see a whole lot of that. That's a pattern for me. That was a pattern for me. I tried to protect people that I really, really loved from seeing that side of me. And so I would lie about it, hide it, or run. So when I was in that relationship, that long-term relationship, when I was 18 to 20, 17 to 22, I isolated with him and his family. And so his family knew what I was going through with this jail and stuff because we lived together, and they knew. And so, yeah, they were trying to encourage, but they still saw it as more innocent. It was marijuana. Oh, it was nothing.
Right. Not a big deal.
Yeah. The assault and the stealing stuff. Yeah. That my mom and dad did see that, and they were like, what is happening here? And it kind of happened really quickly with that identity crisis thing. It was a few months into that situation. I was still dealing with court for it, hadn't finished. And so they didn't know the complete story. I hid things so well from everybody. So by the time I disappeared, it was like out of nowhere for them. It wasn't out of nowhere for me.
Right.
My whole life had been leading up to that.
Right. Like everything I'd done to that moment led to my disappearance.
Yeah. Right. But they were totally caught off guard.
Right.
They were just like, what? They had no idea that I had been through a pain pill addiction, through this Adderall thing, been in and out of jail for all of these other things, that I was dealing with court. They were just like, what? Hold on a second.
So did they find all that out once you disappeared?
Yeah. Yeah.
It just all came flooding out.
Yeah. I guess they they started investigating, trying to find me and figure out what's going on. And that's when things started coming to light more. And honestly, a lot of it didn't come to light until after I got out of prison and I went to go make amends to people. And then I was really honest. I was brutally honest and told them, listen, I was on drugs for my entire life, like from 15 to 28. So I was.
So they just knew enough to understand, like, you're like for, I guess in their minds, I'm thinking like a parent, in their minds, like you've either disappeared or something's happened to you.
Yeah.
Because if you've not called anybody, there's no real answer there for them. So they're digging, frantically digging. And then, oh, look what we found.
Yeah.
Oof.
I know.
So you disappear.
I disappeared. Yeah.
You land in some friends. There's air quotes. These are friends. You all know those kind of friends.
Right.
The ones you call when you got to go somewhere.
Yeah.
And night one out the chute, they're like, hey, this is what we're doing.
Yep.
And I guess if you're having this crisis, so to speak.
I was so ready to try anything.
Why do you just want to escape it all?
Escape. Yeah. Yeah. So I started, and again, here comes that thing. I tasted it once and I immediately loved it. It felt amazing to me. And so that led me to 3 more years of really hard life. Most of the time I was homeless. I was on drugs. I was starting to break the law in ways I never even knew that I knew existed.
Like break the law and getting caught, or you're just breaking the law, but
both.
But like getting away with it.
Both.
Okay.
Yeah. There's a lot of things I should have been arrested for and didn't get arrested for. And then I got arrested for a lot of them.
Like half here and half over there.
Yeah. I mean,
so there's this 3-year run with, and I'm guessing it was meth. Now it's meth. Like forget everything else.
Yep.
Just need to get my hands on that.
yeah.
So you're staying with people, and we all know how that goes. You go through those places like that when you're staying, trying to get to the next step. So you're homeless, but at the same time, like how are you still getting your hands on all that when you're not connected? Like when you're living this kind of wanderer life because you've disappeared.
Yeah. That's a great question.
Do you remember any of that?
I remember it, and it's just wild. It's like a movie when I think about how one thing led to another thing that opened this door, and et cetera. So those people that I left that night with, and moved in with, or, started that next step of my journey with, they were connected to people. And so as I'm meeting new people, I leave there and go over here.
Right.
And then, I started on this. That's how I did it all for 3 years.
So for 3 years, you were able to make different cards for different things. And I guess because you had different identities, how are they going to find Mary Smith?
They couldn't.
Right.
She didn't exist.
There is no Mary Smith.
Right.
So that paved your way for that whole 3-year period. Mm-hmm. And you just were able to.
All over Texas.
And so how in the world did they finally catch up with you and all the identities?
Yeah, that's a good question as well. We
have to know now.
Yeah. I was out near Cleveland, Texas, and I went into a store and I was wearing a tank top, and the camera caught my infamous Texas tattoo. And I had never made that mistake before. And so I guess the store kind of caught on after a couple of times. And the guy that I was dating at the time was getting a little out of control with it. And so he kept returning to the same store. And so they found the lady with the tattoo. Mm-hmm. And I've been arrested several times.
Right.
And they take pictures of all of your tattoos for this reason.
Right. They know every inch of everything.
So all they had to do was just go through the whatever it's called.
The database.
The database. And
is there like a tattoo database?
There is a tattoo database.
You're kidding.
I'm not kidding. They take a picture of every single tattoo that you have.
Could you imagine having that job?
Yeah, I've seen the guys that do it.
Today I'm going to work to look for tattoos.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, they did a good job.
They did a great job. That's why they get a paycheck.
So they matched my name. It took them a while to actually find me because I didn't ever go to the same places.
Right.
And so they
been looking, like, had they, prior to the tattoo, were they on to you? Like they knew this was a thing, or was it just that because of the repeat offenses in this store or whatever?
According to the court documents and stuff, it had just started with this store. Mm-hmm. There wasn't other situations that they had.
Right.
So it had just started. Well, we get arrested for something else in San Jacinto County, one county over. It was for drugs and take pictures. And so Liberty County and San Jacinto County are right next door.
Right.
And
they chat.
Right. So it didn't take them long, and they came and visited me in San Jacinto County Jail and asked me about this situation. And I didn't even deny it. I didn't deny it. I think at that point I was kind of over it.
Yeah.
But they didn't charge me with anything right then. I got out for that other charge and went about my business. Continued to...
Were you still doing the credit card thing?
Still doing everything wrong.
Went right on back to it.
I mean, at that point, it was like, this is how I eat. I don't...
What you just told them you did it.
Right.
Like, what do you have to lose? They already know.
Yeah. So... goes on for a little bit longer out there in that side of the world. I have to know how
much longer. Like how much longer were you able to get away with this?
Not too much longer, maybe 6 months or so.
That's long.
6 months. I was in Polk County making more bad choices. I had moved out to Woodville, Texas.
I don't even know where that's at.
Yeah. No one does. No one does. So I'm out in the woods by, and Indian reservation and stuff out there. And we go into Livingston and making some bad choices. The guy that I was with he was so dumb. I was too, obviously, but he was way worse. So we got caught doing something silly, and I had a warrant for the charges in Liberty County that they had asked about you. Yeah. That they'd asked about, finally indicted me for. So I didn't get charged with the thing in Polk County because I wasn't doing it. I was the passenger, and I honestly wasn't doing it. So didn't get charged with anything there. Thank goodness. Go to Liberty County, and that's where the start of the rest of my life happened. So
at Liberty County, I guess, were you only charged for that one incident because that's the only one they could link you to, or did somehow all of it snowball on top of you and you got charged for all of it?
So by the grace of God, they charged me with 4 counts from that one place. When I went to court, I'm kind of fast forwarding a little bit, but when I went to court for it, I said, I will sign for prison right now, today. I will not drag this out any longer, as long as I can make a deal with the DA that the investigation stops.
So they can't go digging around.
So they wrote me a promissory note that they would not. And so I signed for prison that day.
So you didn't have to go to trial and all that.
No,
it was like, sign on the dotted line.
I'm not going to drag this out. I'm not going to cause more attorney fees, court fees. I'm not going to cost more in the jail. I'm ready as long as you do this.
Yeah. Well, because I can imagine it would have been a whole lot worse if they just start really digging around.
My gosh.
3 years of a lot worse.
I can't even imagine it.
Yeah.
I can't even imagine it. Honestly, that was grace.
Yeah, that was protection.
Yeah, for sure. And I deserved it. I did. I deserved it. I just happened to get lucky and think can you make sure that y'all don't continue this investigation?
Yeah, where'd that come from? Who knows?
I don't know.
It was just there.
Yeah.
Thank the goodness. Yeah. So you're in jail.
Yeah.
You've made that's pretty much like a deal. You've cut a deal. You signed that you're going to go. Did you know, like, when you signed to go to prison, did you know, like, did they tell you how long you're going to be there? Like, do you know all the info, or are you just like, yes, I'll go?
Oh, yeah.
Don't dig.
The offer was 4 years.
So
in
you go
TDCJ.
4 years to prison.
Yep, 4 years with a chance for parole, for sure. Anybody can parole.
Right.
But honestly, I didn't look I didn't look at it as though I was going to make parole. I thought I could be here for 4 years.
Yeah. So they say 4 years. It's a thing.
Yeah.
So what happens there? So I have so many questions. So how long were you in jail in Liberty before they sent you out?
4 weeks, 5 weeks.
So were you also having to like detox during 4 to 5 weeks?
I did not detox.
It just was.
Yeah, I didn't have any issue with detoxing. I never did. Every time that I would go to jail and have a little respite, I didn't detox. I wasn't. Yeah, I don't know. I got lucky. I just needed.
So you were able just to like be in it, be out of it.
Yep.
Be in it, be out of it.
Get some sleep, eat some food,
and not crave. You didn't crave it. Nothing.
Mm-mm.
It was just though if you got the taste of it.
Just in my head.
But if you got your hands on it, it was on.
Yeah, up until that point, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're 4 weeks not having to really worry about detoxing because it's not a problem.
Yeah.
But what happens, like, what's the mentality like in that 4 weeks knowing that you're caught, you've just signed a deal, and like you 25 times in jail, you kind of knew what to expect.
For sure.
But I'm thinking prison's not the same thing as jail.
It's not. It's definitely not. What was I thinking about? Is that what the question was?
Yeah, like what was that 4 weeks like leading up to knowing that this, like, I'm guessing, did your family now know where you were? Did they find you? Did you call them? Like, what was that 4 weeks prior?
Yeah.
Like, what happened during that period?
I wrote a lot of letters. No one would answer any collect calls for me anymore. So I had definitely ruined all of those. So I wrote a lot of letters. And I just told everybody that this is what happened. This is what's going on. This is where I'll be. I hope you write me. If you don't, I totally get it. I get it. But the first 2 weeks I was in jail were a lot different than the last 2 weeks before I actually pulled chain. That's what they call it. Pull chain to go to prison. The first 2 weeks were before Christ, and the next 2 weeks were after Christ. So I was in there alone and had no assistance financially, didn't have anything going on. And the ministries, different prison ministries, would come in and out of the jail. And they all did different things. Some of them brought Bibles, some of them taught, some of them sang. They all kind of did different things. And I was never interested in those first couple of weeks, wasn't interested at all. And then on week 3 or so, I told this story in the video, but I was awakened out of my sleep, and it's 2 levels. So I'm on the top level up there, second floor. And I'm awakened out of my sleep by the most beautiful music I've ever heard. And it's women singing. And so I go to peek over the ledge, and there's a woman she's a quadriplegic, and she's in this chair, and she's leaning back sort of diagonally. So she's not facing straight up and down or straight up and to the ceiling. Mm-hmm. And she immediately sees me and she doesn't stop singing. She doesn't miss a beat or anything. And I like ducked back really fast. I'm like, oh gosh. But it was still so beautiful. So when they finished singing, she's like, I see you up there. You can come down now. And I was like, I'm good.
Thanks, but no thanks.
I'm good.
So wait a minute, was this normal that people came in and did this, or is this somebody who's also in jail? Like,
no, this was prison ministries. Yeah, this was normal.
Okay.
Yeah. They came in several times a week.
And just did lots of different things. Okay.
This was the first time I'd seen these two ladies, though.
Okay.
So I'm like, I don't have a Bible. She's like, oh, we brought Bibles today. It's like, oh, goody. Be right down.
Let me get my stuff together.
Yeah. So I just, go on downstairs, and I received a Bible, my first Bible. It's engraved with somebody's name in it, not mine.
Doesn't matter.
It's a Good News Bible. And we're reading through Romans.
What a good book to start with.
Everybody says that. That's so funny.
Because it really is a good book to start with.
And I don't recall exactly, but for some reason Romans 8 just comes to mind with it. And so we're reading through, and then they leave, and I'm glued, and I just keep reading. And then something just clicks in my brain. And I just knew that something had changed. It was a light bulb went off in my head. I went from, I'm looking at the paper, the Bible, and I'm thinking to myself, this all sounds just fantastical. This just all sounds like what a wonderful story. And then suddenly, I'm like, oh my gosh, this makes so much sense. It was no longer fantastical, like some fantasy story. I just felt Jesus in my heart. And so I went upstairs and I got on my knees, and I had no idea what I was doing, but I knew that I needed to ask God to please take over my life. Please lead my life. Please forgive me, Lord Jesus. I don't know what to do anymore, and I don't want anything to do with any of that anymore. I just want to be with you. So the next 2 weeks were so easy.
So what did you do the next 2 weeks?
I read my Bible. I walked in circles. We could go, we had a big little like common area. And so I walked in circles reading, wrote tons of letters, prayed a lot, slept a lot, went out to the rec yard. They didn't let us out very often, but it was, there's not a lot to do in jail.
Right.
There's definitely less to do in jail than there is in prison, but yeah, there's not a lot to do. So I did a lot of reading. So
when like you say the next 2 weeks were different, you mean more in the way you felt, the way you like saw things.
Yeah.
So like, tell me a little bit about that. Like, cause I'm guessing the first 2 weeks it was, oh my God, I'm going to prison. What have I done? All the things I would think you would think if this had been your pattern of behavior and now you're busted. Like, this is going to ruin my life. And what have I done? I've never seen my family again. But then you meet the lady, you hear the lady, you meet her. She leaves you the Bible with somebody else's name, which I honestly think is such a good point. We'll come back to that in a minute. And then you read it. So where was your head then? Like, what were you telling yourself? What was the Spirit speaking to you? Like, explain that 2 weeks and what that difference looked like.
Okay, I can start with this. The biggest thing I felt different about was sharing. So jail and prison, you're taught to be really selfish. Anything that you get, you need to keep because there's not a lot of it. You don't have a lot of money. You don't have a lot of soap. And so anything that you have, you don't share with other people. People will start to take advantage of you. This is all things, jailhouse talk. People tell you these things. People will start taking advantage of you. They won't stop. They'll keep trying to, they might steal from you, all these things. And so when I went to jail that time, I was dating a guy and his mother put $50 on my books. Thank you. And I bought a little bag of coffee, and that was like that week is when I got it. I bought a bag of coffee, soap, shampoo, etc. And I shared that whole thing. I shared everything I had, any shampoo, whatever. I just shared it. I just felt like it wasn't mine. And I felt like God was telling me, hey, I'm I'm providing this to you, and my heart was just changed. It was just so changed. I felt the selfishness was just like lifted. I don't know how else to explain that, but I also, obviously I felt a little bit of anxiety about what it was going to be like when I got to prison. And
because I'm sure you're hearing a bunch of stuff.
Yeah. I mean,
it can't all be pleasant.
No, none of it was pleasant, actually.
I didn't think so, but I was just going to put it out there.
But I didn't have anxiety like I probably would, like I know I would have without God there with me. I mean, it's like he was sitting there in the cell with me. And so...
Well, the Bible says he was.
Yeah, I know. And I truly believe it. So, yeah, it was a lot of self-talk about it's gonna be okay. It's gonna be okay. I don't know what I'm gonna do. I don't. No, you're right. You have no idea what you're gonna do. But you can figure it out. You're gonna figure it out. And I was writing a bunch of letters to family and friends, and nobody responded. And I got it. I understood that.
Right.
I wasn't expecting that. But it was a lot of just talking to them about my life before, the changes I had, and just telling them that I was sorry and that I just pray that they can forgive me one day, and that I can have an opportunity to show them that I can be different.
So before we get into like the transfer,
yeah,
you have this 2 weeks of almost what sounds like to me is peace.
Oh yeah.
It's like for the first time in years, you have peace.
Ever.
Yeah. So here you are in jail.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God, that's such a Paul moment.
I know. Yes.
In jail, experiencing more peace than you had in your whole entire life, and you are locked up.
Yes.
But that's such a Paul moment. Okay. That had just hit me. It just hit me so hard. So here's, I told you before we got started that when I was thinking about your story, and I was thinking about like women in the Bible and hard things, because we see a lot with men, right? It's always a man, and mostly a man in the Bible, and here's what he does, and here's how he falls short, and here's how God's grace comes, and then you see consequences, and you still see how God provides, but there are consequences. I mean, we see the whole story, which still replays to this day, just modern day in the Bible. And so for all of you who don't read the Bible, it's better than any soap opera you're ever gonna watch. You should pick it up and try it today. But I thought about Mary Magdalene. And so I went on this little hunt on Mary Magdalene, because really there's not a whole lot said about her in the Bible. It's actually several places in the Gospels, just told from a different perspective. And I know I've said this last year, but The Chosen has really got me seeing all these folks in chosen time.
I love it. Yeah.
And I do love it too. But of course we do know that some of that is fabricated for story purposes, and we don't mind chosen not a bit. But what it made me think about, even if I think about what it really says about Mary Magdalene, that Jesus had released 7 demons from her life. And what's interesting is that when you research her, time after time, the people who talk about her or go into more detail or connect scripture to her, they talk about how important she was. And I'm thinking, in my mind, I'm thinking about your story and that, and I'm going, isn't that crazy how somebody who was probably viewed by society with a record, I'm thinking if you're demon possessed, like if we just based it on The Chosen, and we saw these behaviors, right, and we just assume that's what it's like when you're demon possessed, you have a reputation. I mean, a lot of people say, oh, she was a prostitute, she was this. It's not even in the Bible. Right. There's no scripture that says Mary Magdalene, prostitute. It doesn't say that at all, nowhere. If you find it, please email me and let me know. But so there's a lot of assumptions. And I was thinking about, just a minute ago, you talking about there's a lot of assumptions that were made about you.
Oh, yeah.
But then I take it back to my head about how important she was. And it said that some of the research read is that based on what it says about her, that she clearly had money because she supported financially Jesus' ministry. And from the point where he released the 7 demons out of her, her life was changed. She followed him. She was the first one to see him. When he came back, he revealed himself to her, the one who had been changed, the one who was no longer who the world said she was, but who he said she was. And I just, as you were talking, I was sitting here like, oh my gosh, that is such a Mary story. That, I mean, here you have this person in the Bible who by many were discounted and named by their actions.
Yeah.
But Jesus and all these people, Jesus held her. She traveled with him. There were the disciples, and then some of the accounts say there were just 3 women. Again, if you're watching The Chosen, it might look a little different. But, I mean, that's what he does. In those 2 weeks of you're different, he said, like, hey, Lauren, you're highly esteemed in my eyes. That's gone.
Yeah.
Like, you're going with me. Let's go. I mean, who else can do that?
Nobody.
Can your family do that? No. You know, family don't forget. Friends don't forget. The law sure doesn't forget.
Right.
There's a record with everybody. But you know who doesn't have a record against you? Jesus. Oh, Lauren Butler, forgiven.
Yeah.
Lauren Butler, redeemed. Lauren Butler, we're doing this different. Highly esteemed. I mean, it's mind-blowing to me. Not that Lauren Butler could be highly esteemed, but that's what he does in our lives.
It's mind-blowing to me too. I understand for sure. God.
It's crazy how the encounter with Jesus totally changes perspective in lives. And it doesn't even matter if anybody else sees it, right? Because let's be straight, family and friends, they don't forget anything. So there's always that you were this person.
Oh, yeah.
Are you acting like you're going to be that person again? Like, they never forget.
Yeah.
As hard as you
Even
try.
new people that I meet that don't know that person, when I tell them about that person, they still can't help but to think when something weird happened or I tell a certain story, they just can't, I mean, our flesh just can't help but go think, oh, whoa, yikes.
Yeah.
Even if it's just a moment, it's just,
like we all don't have some stuff.
Of course.
Because if those people,
girl,
if they took a minute and they would get that same funny look, right? That, You should see the look on people's faces when it's like, oh, this is your husband and your kids are cute. And then we start putting the math together with kids and last names. It's like, oh, yeah, like he's number 5. It's amazing.
Yeah.
The look you get. Yeah. Like 1 minute I was one way.
Uh-huh.
The next minute, all my credibility just went right out the window.
Right. I know.
I mean, really. It's like, oh, we're doing that. But that's human. It's human.
It is.
It's human. And unfortunately, it's a consequence.
It is. And there are natural consequences to sin.
Like being a Christian and being covered by God's blood, that's Jesus' blood. Like that's a real thing.
Oh yeah.
But it doesn't like get you out of
no way
the consequences of all the things that happen prior to or even during your walk with Christ. Like sin is a real thing.
Oh yeah.
And so is the world.
And those consequences are just as real.
And you're going to have to walk through that. Now, it is easier when you're on the other side. I'm not saying prison, the idea of prison was easier, but there was a peace about you going into that where you weren't terrified.
Right. It was easier than I don't know what it would have been like to be in prison with not walking with Christ, but I just know it was easier with him.
Like you just know.
No.
Right. So, okay. We sidetracked, sorry. Yes. It was a great time to talk about Mary Magdalene. It was there. I had to go for it. Okay. So it's time to go. Like, I guess they come to you. Again, I don't have this experience. So I'm going to need you to hold my hand through this. So they come to you and they're like, hey, it's time to load up.
Yep. Middle of the night,
Middle of the night.
Yeah.
Was it like a secret transportation?
No, they have to start at one jail and go and pick up at several jails along the way and transport you to the prison in Dayton County, Texas.
Oof.
So I get to prison, and it's horrible. Prison is horrible. They did a really good job at making sure it was the worst. I'm pretty sure it's a deterrent, right? To get people to stop coming back. Yeah. But I've met so many people that was like their 7th time in prison. And I know I'm saying this after saying I've been to jail for 25 times, but prison was different.
Right.
And I just can't imagine going back there
7 more times
or 1 more time.
Right. So
the funny thing about that though, is after you get through like that initial intake and I get to the pod, that prison in Dayton is an intake prison. So it's the prison you go to until you see parole, until they figure out what the next prison is that you're going to.
Oh, wait a minute. Hold on.
Yeah.
This is a multi-prison.
Yes,
so you don't just like get there and like hunker down.
No, you have to do it.
They should teach this in high school.
I know.
Like this should be a class. Like, here's what we need y'all to know because you don't know this.
Those details are bad about the intake process. So I'll skip that.
Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah.
We'll just say it's bad. You don't want to know.
No, you don't.
Go Google it.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So I finally make it to the prison I'm going to go to, which is in San Saba, Texas, the pecan capital of the world.
So how long were you at the first one?
So I saw parole after 3 weeks, and then it was another about 3 weeks, and I made it to San Saba.
So why do you have to see parole? You just got there.
Yeah. So you see parole pretty much right away when you touch down. At least that was most of us do.
Right.
If you are going to if you qualify for it.
Well, how do they know if you qualify if you just got there? I'm just so lost.
So because in court, the deal is there's stipulations to what you're signing for.
Right.
And so mine was 4 years with chance to parole right away. Sometimes it's no parole. So some people don't get parole. So you skip
them when you get there.
Yeah. Then some people, it's parole after a certain amount of time. So you don't see parole until
you didn't have any restrictions. It was just you can get parole.
4 years and you can see parole and you can make your first parole. So,
but you have to do the 4 years?
No, you have to do it's a little game. It's a little game.
Lovely. We can talk about that another time.
So I make it to San Saba, and then I find out that I need to go take care of another charge.
Oh.
So that charge that I talked about in San Jacinto County, and then they came and saw me with the tattoo. Okay, well I had a warrant for that charge. So now I leave prison and go to San Jacinto County.
To jail.
And that seemed like it dragged on forever. It's
so
like
you're
11
stuck
weeks.
there.
Yeah.
In jail.
Yep. Got another charge. They ran it concurrent. So then I finally make it back to prison and go back through the intake and then go back to San Saba.
So they connect that charge to what the charge you had now, and then you had more time to serve in prison?
I didn't have to have any more time. They just ran it together. So
so you're serving it. You're serving it all there, and it's going to clear. Mm-hmm. Okay, got it.
Yep.
Just follow along.
Yeah. So that's that process. And just through that so I was in prison for 13 months. 13 months. I was in TDC total. I made my first parole. I didn't know I made my first parole because I had to leave. And so then the mail was chasing me around. So I finally found out that I made my first parole after month 8.
Right.
And so then that's the holidays. And so I couldn't leave for another 4 months. But during my prison stay, I clung to God's word. I read it every single day, all day long. And everybody asks me the question, did anybody mess with you?
That was going to be my next question. I just going to ask it a little differently.
Yeah. What were you going to say?
I was going to say, well, so during that time, did you have any conflicts?
Well,
just asking for a friend. But no, seriously, because like this is prison. Okay. This is prison. It cannot be, you cannot tell me, even though you did get kind of shifted back to jail, which is not prison, but that you sat there and read a book every single day and just everything just was going by you, because that's not what you see on TV. I'm just saying.
Yeah. TV's lying.
Dadgummit.
So yeah, if you're not engaging in those conflicts, then you are just reading a book all day. Not necessarily just a book, but
right.
So I went to Rec Yard and did Zumba classes. I did yoga and worked out right there in my cell. Do
you have a roommate or cellmate?
This was a 26 woman pod. So there was 26 of us in a really small room. I could.
So it wasn't like, okay, so I'm envisioning like
they're
jail,
all different.
I guess.
Yeah. This prison was bunks
mm-hmm.
and then rows
Gotcha.
of people.
So you're free. So you're free to wander in that space,
walk around in that space.
You're not just stuck behind. Okay, now I'm up to speed.
Thank goodness. But it was so close that you're laying down, you just reach out and you're touching somebody. So it's not like a lot of space here.
Right.
But yeah, I drew, I wrote, I read the Bible. I would read some books every once in a while, if it floated around.
Was prison ministries, was that a thing? Were people coming into? Like, so were you able to be reading your Bible, but connect to those?
I didn't connect to the ministries very much, but they came and we got to worship and stuff every week, sometimes twice a week.
Yeah.
So that was prison ministries rock it out too. They're amazing. So yeah, that's what I did. I did yoga, worked out, did Zumba, ran, read the Bible. And
did you ever have a chance like to connect with other women and share your story? And like, I don't mean like make friendships per se, but to 8 months, 9 months, a year, that's a long time.
Yeah.
Especially in this arrangement. So were you able to find a sisterhood with people who believe the same things and bond?
Yes.
To have that? Is that hard to do there?
It's not very hard to do, because when you're sitting down in your bunk and you're reading the Bible, people notice that. And so the people who are interested in it, we connect for sure. So yeah, we often had Bible studies together. We talked about, hey, what do you think this means? Talked about our experiences with coming to Christ, what our walk had been like so far. Mine was very short. It was easy to connect to other women that were walking that walk too.
So you find out you get paroled.
Yeah.
You're getting out after the holidays. What a great present.
Yeah. I got out in March.
Happy holidays. I'm out of here in March.
Yeah.
So you get out. I can't imagine what that, like you get out, where do you go? What do you do? Like, because here's the thing, and this is just, I'm just putting this as a umbrella. Like when you're in jail, when you're in prison, and that's all you're doing, those outside triggers and sources, they're not there. They're not there. Mm-hmm. Now on TV, sometimes they show them there, but we're just going to say they're not there because TV's a liar. They're not there. So it's easy to stay in that mindset, right? Because ain't nothing really happening.
Yeah.
So when you leave, how is that like? Is that a struggle? Is that easy? I mean, what happens next?
Yeah, when I saw parole back those months earlier, they ask you a question. Do you have anybody that you think might let you parole to their house? And I was like, no one's going to let me come to their house. And they said, why don't you just think of 2 people? 'Cause you don't know. You don't know until we ask. Maybe they say no. Doesn't hurt anything. So I gave him my mom's information and I gave him my dad's information. And I was like, this is a joke. And I wrote my dad and said, hey, I gave them your information, but I'm not expecting anything. Same thing to my mom. I never got any responses.
Right.
I got a response.
Still no mailbag.
I did get a response. My mom came and saw me. My mom came around. She wrote me once or twice. She did put some money on the phone every once in a while after I'd gotten to prison. She came all the way to San Saba to see me. And she did help me with some food and stuff. And that brings up a good thing. I wanted to say that it was still the same in once I made it to prison with the shampoo and all of that. I didn't have a lot. I did not have a lot, but I would share with anybody who needed it, because you get 4 bars of lye soap that is this big and that thin, and that's it. You don't get anything else. And so we're washing our hair and our bodies with lye soap. And when you're in Texas heat, I don't know about you, but most of us ladies, we need something more than that.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when people would come in, they couldn't go to commissary for weeks. So they were just using like water to wash their hair. So I would share anytime anybody asked, and I never ran out of shampoo. I never ran out of shampoo. No matter how much I shared. I didn't have any money. But like the story of the woman in the Bible, the widow in the Bible, who the guy, he says,
used to keep filling it.
Yeah, the oil never ran out.
Yeah.
I cannot explain it except that God is so good. So anyways, I didn't know where I was going to parole to. And I got that little note that said, you're getting out tomorrow. And I was like, where am I going? So
is that a stipulation for parole that you
have to have somewhere that you're going to go? If it's either a halfway house, 3/4 house, or somebody's house, but parole won't let you exit to the streets.
So if, let's just say your mom, your dad, your whoever doesn't, do they help you get into a halfway house? Or
they will connect you to one by default in the city that you last resided, but they're not usually good situations.
Right.
So I assumed that was where I was going.
Right.
That's where my head had been. While I'm in prison, I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to be in one of these horrible halfway houses. And so I'm going to need to figure things out really quickly, trying to formulate a plan and figure all these things out. And
do you have to stay there for your whole parole?
No, you don't have to, but you have to have an address that's approved.
Okay. Got it. And then you can figure it out from there.
Yeah.
And keep in contact and all that.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
So I called my mom and I said, I'm getting out. And I don't know where I'm going. Can you call my dad? And so I found out that my dad had said, okay. He'd said yes, that I could parole to his house, which was just a shock.
Mind-blowing. I wish you could see her face right now. Like, it looks like it's still a shock.
It still is. It still is. I'm so grateful. I cannot even express the amount of gratitude I have for that, because I thought I was going to be in some horrible situation.
From prison to more crap.
Yeah, which happens, which is why recidivism is so high. People go back to prison, they get out of prison, they're not given resources, they're not given a second chance, they're turned away at all these jobs, but they're expected to get back on their feet, get a job, get a car, live life, eat. How are people supposed to eat?
Right.
They have nothing when they get out.
Right.
They give you $100 and that is it.
And the dollar menu is not the dollar menu anymore.
Okay. Right.
You're not
but how do you even get to the dollar menu?
Exactly.
You got to get a bus card or something.
You don't even have the money to buy the dollar menu when you get there.
Right.
Yeah.
So people turn to the same old ways.
Yeah.
They rob, they steal, whatever, and so
just trying to survive.
Just trying to survive.
It's not even so much that they're being that bad person. It's just they
got to eat.
Yeah. They don't know how to do anything else.
Yeah. And so, so grateful. So I get out of prison and my mom comes and picks me up. She takes me to my dad's house, which is the house I was living at when I packed the bag and left several years before. So I'm back in the same place. All my stuff is still there. Like time froze
right
there. And so then I'm going to see parole. My grandma had passed, and so she left a car to my dad, and he let me use that car. So I had a ride. I was going to AA meetings, got a sponsor so I could work through the 12 steps. My dad had bought a carpet cleaning business maybe the year before and hadn't done anything with it. I don't know what he was doing, but God's provision was that he'd bought that thing. And then he's like, hey, I have this thing and I don't know what to do with it. Here, figure it out. Hands me the keys to this van for a carpet cleaning business. I don't know what that means, but okay, like, okay, I guess I'm a carpet cleaner now.
Yeah, go to clean carpet.
Right.
Yeah.
So I pour myself into figuring out how to excel at carpet cleaning. So now I'm a carpet cleaner, business owner, working the 12 steps. I'm reconciling relationships with family members. I'm going to each one of them, these people I care for, telling them, letting them ask brutal questions and giving them brutal answers, brutally honest answers, and making amends and just trying to going to church. My friend is coming all the way from Cyprus to pick me up in Meyerland to take me to church in Katy every Sunday. And we do that for quite some time because I can use the car, but I can't use the car.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. And I learned, I put an ad out on Craigslist for somebody I said, I can't pay you, but I promise you that if you teach me everything you know about carpet cleaning, that when we start making money, it'll be worth it.
Right.
And I got so many hits. So many people. It was a really dangerous game I was playing on Craigslist.
I remember back in the day, Craigslist was a little shady at times.
It could have been, but man, I had God's protection because these people showed up and they did. They taught me everything they knew and
that's amazing.
Had no expectations for
Didn't
me.
Didn't expect anything.
I got a lot of jobs through them, and then Harvey hit in 2017. And we lost everything except our vehicles. The van it was full of water. We let it sit and let it dry out. And I took it and got a little oil change or tune up and it worked perfectly. It was unbelievable. Yeah. And I'm going to church out there. I'm getting more jobs, getting more going with this business. And I had reached out to my friend that I went to high school with. Actually, we weren't even friends. I don't know how I know this chick, but I know we went to high school together. I had reached out to her when I got out of prison because I'd seen that she was in the nonprofit world with the homeless. And I said to her, hey, I want to do something with my life that gives back in some way. And I don't know where to start. Do you have some suggestions or advice? She said, well, we don't have volunteer positions, but usually if you're trying to get into the industry, like as a job, they usually pull from their volunteers. So go to Star of Hope or something and try to get a job. Try to volunteer with them. And I just kind of let that go. I was trying to live my life again and get things going, and I couldn't drive into downtown to volunteer and stuff. So
you needed your hours to pay like bills.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So Harvey hits. The next about 10 months later, she messages me again and says, "Hey, we're hiring. Do you want to come interview?" And I was like, I just got out of prison.
Yeah. It's like, can we talk for a minute?
Yeah. She's like, "No, that's cool. We hire people. We give people second chances all the time. We love to hire people that have records and stuff." I was like, "Well, good thing.
Guess what? I have one.
Let me show you." She's like, can you just tell me what it is though? Just so I know what I'm working with." And I list it off, and she's like, "Oh, okay." Come interview.
She's like, "Oh, mini records.
Just,
you have your own."
Oh, just kidding. No, but she
Scratch
wasn't
all
kidding.
that.
And I went to interview, and he offers me a job.
Like right there.
Yeah. And I said, "Whoa, now I've worked all this time on this business and put so much into this. And I hate cleaning carpets. I don't know if you've ever cleaned carpets with professional hoses and all of that, but going up the stairs with 100 yards of hose, up 3 flights of stairs or something, and with like wand and chemicals and all this stuff, it was so hard.
Not glamorous,
but it was so good.
Right.
God was really challenging me in this season to say, are you willing to do whatever I give you? Are you just going to say you're too good for this?
Right. But think about it like this. Have you ever thought about it like this? Because this could just be my brain. I'm so sorry. But like, he put you in the cleaning
I hadn't thought
business.
of that.
And not just cleaning, like cleaning. Carpet is nasty.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, like disgusting.
Oh, no, I know.
Gross. If you haven't ever looked under your carpet, don't. Just let me do you a favor here.
Yeah, I'll tell you what.
Don't, because you'll be buying brand new carpet quickly. It's gross, but he put you in the cleaning business, Lord. Cleaning carpet, which is nasty, wet, murky, stinky. But what do carpet cleaners do? They clean the mess, and it's fresh, and it's new, and it smells good.
Yeah, yeah.
He put you in a business which was similar to the business he was doing in your life.
I had not thought of it that way, but that is lovely.
I mean, who else does that?
Yeah.
I think like you didn't realize it then, but if you looked back and thought of it that way, like, look what he was really teaching you. Like as you're cleaning carpets, as you're putting your life back together and you're cleaning out the trash and the murk and the dirty of other people's lives, I'm cleaning out your trash and your murk and your dirt.
So good.
And as you're carrying all that weight up the stairs, I'm going to take your burden and I'm going to carry it now with me the rest of the way. I mean, that is beautiful.
Yeah. That is beautiful.
That he put you in the carpet cleaning business that your dad bought and didn't even know why.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
wild.
mean, I don't care who you are. If you don't say God don't orchestrate all things
Right.
for the good of those that love him or and called to his purposes, I don't know what to tell you. But like, just like Mary Magdalene again, it makes me think about this. I said earlier, I said, okay, the Bible name, right? It's not the first Bible you got didn't have your name. And I was looking at some of my notes right here, and it says, one of the places you can find Mary Magdalene stories in John 20:16 through 18. And it says, Jesus calls her by her name and Mary recognizes him. It didn't matter that Bible didn't have your name because he knew your name. And it didn't need to be written in that Bible.
Yeah.
It was written throughout that whole Bible.
Right.
Like, because he knew your name. He knew the Lauren that he created. Like, he knew the Lauren he was going to put in the carpet cleaning business. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and when he called out to you through the voice you heard and the opportunity he gave you in a moment to peek over something and make a split choice. Like, you really didn't have to go down there.
Right.
Nobody was going to make you go down there,
No,
right? She could
sure.
call you down there all day long. You could just be like, pfft.
Yeah. I was being called.
Yeah. He called you down there. And the moment you took it further and you went back and you prayed, and I mean, right there, he went, clean. Your carpet's clean.
Right.
It doesn't matter. This Bible doesn't have your name. Your name is written in my book.
Yeah.
It's in my book. And guess what? Your name is all through the pages of this book. Doesn't matter if it says John Doe. This is Lauren Butler's story. I mean, how beautiful is that? That time after time, he's already ahead of you. And you ain't nowhere near where he's at, but he's there. And he's just like, come a little further.
Yeah.
Come a little closer.
There was a pastor that came in one time to the jail, and he said, do you want to know who you are? Do you want to find your identity? And of course we're all like, yes, of course. And he lifts up his Bible. He said, it's in here. And I was like, what page?
Can you give me a specific chapter, page, verse?
He said, it's all in here.
Yeah, it's your story.
It's all in here. I'll never forget him saying that.
And most of the women in there are probably like, great, now I got to read the whole thing.
Yeah, yeah. And I was so excited to find myself in there.
Yeah. Like, who am I?
Yeah.
And how am I not this anymore? That's crazy. So okay, you get the job.
Yeah. So he offered me a job, and I said, I don't know that I can take it. I mean, I need some time to think about this.
No, wait a minute.
I know.
This is great.
I know.
You get an opportunity to get a job with a record.
Yeah.
A for real record, right? And you look at this man and I'm like,
Well, because I really was trying. I didn't want to make any rash decisions. I wanted to get confirmation from God. And while I'm sitting there next to him and he's offering this to me, I didn't have time to ask God that moment. And I felt like God had really helped me with this business. And are you wanting me to just put that away? I don't know. And
right.
So hold on, let me pray on this. And so the guy who's now my boss, he says, why don't you come volunteer for a day or 2 or 5, whatever. Just come volunteer and see if you like it.
And this is the same place lady just told you. We don't really have volunteers.
Yeah.
We don't really
do that. Do a ride along with somebody. And so I scheduled the ride along for the next day. And it was with somebody who is our housing navigator. That's her title. And it just so happens to be that was the day that she was going to a shelter to pick someone up and their belongings, take them to their new home, and give them keys that day. So
what
get
a
in
day
the car.
To volunteer.
I get in the car with her. We go do this. And by the end of that day, I said, absolutely, this is, I've got to be a part of this. So I took the job, and that was 5 years ago. I tried to hold on to the carpet cleaning business for a while. I tried to do both, and I did for a little while. And then I just felt like that was taking way too much of my time. On weekends, I was having to skip church for jobs and stuff. And so I sold the business. And let's see, where does that lead me? That was 2019.
COVID happened.
So 2019,
that's later.
Get introduced to the Met. And my best friend, who had been taking me to church in Katy, after Harvey, she moved me out to Cyprus because she was a property manager out there, and I needed a place to live immediately, and she had a vacancy. So I'm living across the street from this big old church. And I was like, yeah, but it's one of those big old churches.
One of those mega churches.
One of them mega churches.
It's not really a mega church.
I know, right? But to me it was,
right. Oh,
you know?
Yeah.
And we were in the student building, and we were in what's now the hub.
Mm-hmm.
So she's like, just come with me a couple times. Gosh. So that.
Oh, was that because the church was getting renovated? Okay. Mm-hmm. Got it.
So that weekend, that next week, they were launching the singles Bible study. And I had just been talking about how the other church, I was the only single person left there. So I was in the, I was shopping around or whatever, if you will, for somewhere that there was more singles.
Right.
Because I just needed to be spoken to a little bit more. So they were launching a singles Bible study. And I'll never forget Rachel Patterson. She, I'm standing, I go to sit down and I'm like in the back, and she's way at the front by the stage of the big sanctuary at the student building. She looks straight at me and she just beelines and comes like all chipper. Hi, I'm Rachel. Are you in a small group? And I was like, oh, no, I'm good. Thank you. You're so nice. And she's like, come on, let's get connected. So she takes me over. And honestly, her obedience in just saying hello to me changed the trajectory of my life with the Met and with church. Honestly, I was one of those sit in the back kind of gals,
right.
you know?
Mm-hmm.
So then I get connected to the singles Bible study, and we launched that. And, we were doing that for a while, and then COVID happened, and COVID is COVID. Yeah.
There goes all the years of your life right there.
However many years it was.
Yeah.
Are we out of it now?
Yeah, don't ask that question. Don't ask.
So then I met Brad Kilgore through Jeremiah, his brother, who was one of the singles Bible study leaders. And we were in a small group together. And Brad kept telling me ever since the first time I met him, he was like, got to start a singles group. I mean, a small group. And I was like, hold on a second. I don't even know what that means.
Right.
Like, back off. And for another year or so, he said he would say that. He would, every time, when are you going to do whatever? And I was like, who are you?
I know. Get over it, man.
Yeah, right. So then he catches me in the hallway before service one day, and he's like, hey, I need you to think about this thing, Region. He hands me the stack of all of the books, and he's like, just read through them. Just see what you think. And I'm like holding this big old stack of books like,
thank you.
Okay, I guess I will. And Catherine had reached out to me and said, hey, we're going to start this ministry, and we just kind of want you to be at the table, see what that looks like. I had never been in any kind of ministry.
Yeah, I've never been at the table before.
What is that? Why?
Right.
Why am I here?
Right.
But I did it. I prayed on it, and I got a really big confirmation during a devotional a couple days later. So we started that. We've been doing Region now for a couple of years. Seems like several years now.
Yep.
It'll be 3 years in April or so.
Yeah. You're still working for the nonprofit?
Yeah. So now with the nonprofit, about 2.5 years ago or so, I was offered another position. So now I am the program coordinator for the Permanent Supportive Housing Program, and I've got 16 employees, 200 clients, and we work with 19 properties around Houston. And who is this? This is wild. God just keeps opening weird doors I never thought that existed for me.
Isn't that crazy?
It is.
Because like when you look back, I feel the same way. Like, clearly I don't have your same story, but I have my own little show, my own little soapbox. But you look back and you're just like, what did I do to really deserve any of this? Like,
yeah,
I'm sure there was, lots of times when you were really disappointed in me, and And really, I didn't choose. It would come to that split in the road, the fork, and I'd always choose the other. Whatever, wherever it would put me or position me better or wherever I thought I was going. Because, you think you know it all in your 20s and some of your 30s sometimes. But then it's just like, I did a Bible study at the church and I can't remember which one. So I'm really sorry about that. But it talks about how there are times in life where God is still so very faithful when you're not. And it's not because he owes it to you, but it's because it's his nature.
Yeah.
To just be that faithful. Again, it doesn't protect you from consequences. It doesn't cover up what you did. You still got to do your business. Like, you still got to handle your business with him and with others and whatever that looks like, whatever your consequences, all of our consequences look a little different. But that his nature is just to be good.
Yeah.
Even when you're not. And it blows my mind because as a human, it's not always in my nature to be good when other people aren't. It's not my first go-to.
Right.
Like, I treated you like crap, or I did this, or did that, and I'm just like, oh, let me still be good to you. I'm getting better.
Yeah.
I'm growing. Like, that's an area of growth. I've come leaps and bounds. I can tell you that. But that's his nature. Just even when it's all going to crap and you just keep doing stupid thing after dumb thing after this thing and that thing, and that you look back and you look where you're at and you look back and you just go, why? Why? But I mean, the why is because he loves you. The why is because he wants to be in relationship with you. The why is because he wants to walk with you, and he has a purpose for everybody's life. I mean, from day one when you were born, he already had a purpose for your life, and he was faithful to walk through the journey that you needed to go on. But because you were obedient, just like what you said about Rachel. Rachel was obedient in that moment. In the moment where the call came, you were obedient. And because of your faithfulness, he didn't just erase prison from your life. He didn't just like fix all your relationships because you wrote some letters. But he started doing things in you and growing you and repairing you. And then the fruit of that comes out. And I mean, seriously, the goodness of God, man.
I know. Yeah.
Like, it's amazing. And I always hate when we do some stories and, people have like jail or prison. I always feel like listeners go, well, I mean, I'm not doing things like that. I didn't do any of that. It doesn't matter because, like, when you get to heaven, sin is sin. There's not going to be a line for everybody who went to jail and prison and a line for everybody who cheated on their husbands, or like, we're all going to be there together as one big group.
Right.
So the theme here is not that, oh, Lauren went to jail and prison. And the theme is that Lauren's a sinner, like I'm a sinner, and God covers with grace and mercy every day. Because I'm guessing, Lauren, that getting out of prison, even though all these great things happen and God has clearly had his hand on you, there were still struggles.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it sounds great that here's all the things, but if somebody had to really walk in your shoes from the time you walked out of prison to today, there's sure been days that were very hard, that have been easy to maybe consider doing something else. But because you stayed so close to your Bible and you made connections, you made it important to be in church, you made it important to think through, like you said, like, what an amazing obedience to know that you just got out of prison, get offered a job, and instead of I'd have jumped on it like crazy. I've been like, yep, and I'll figure it out later.
Yeah. That
you said, can I think about it? Because I don't want to do anything else that is God's hand's not on. Because I done been there.
Yeah.
And how many people don't do that? Like, I am guilty of that still to this day. I will do something and then be like, gosh.
Yeah.
Oh.
For sure.
And then I got to go back and be like, dear Heavenly Father, I did it again. Can we talk about it?
Yeah.
Or if I don't need to be doing it, can you get me out of it? What, and I've gotten better because you learn, right? That's what we're supposed to do, is learn from mistakes. But you just did it. You just knew that not doing that. Like, that's amazing.
Yeah. Thank you. God is teaching me still teaching me so much.
And will continue.
Yeah.
In case you didn't know.
So you mentioned that maybe people can't relate because, well, I'm not doing that kind bad. Okay, let's take jail and prison. Let's take that out of the story. My life was blotted with what started with trauma. Everybody's got trauma. Then just selfish living for myself. Everybody can relate to that. And if they think they can't, then yeah, we should have a conversation.
Yeah.
But everybody can relate to that. And that's what it was. I was just living for myself, for my flesh.
Well, and you said the trauma part, that plays a big part because it's searching, right? So if you go back to being 15, you were searching for something to patch. There's something to patch to, so you said, to get attention, to find love, the acceptance. You'd come through trauma, and that's unfortunately the consequence of other people's sin in life. I mean, that's what I like to call generational curses. So you had that too. Now, granted, I'm not one to point the finger and be like, it's mommy issues, daddy issues, right? Because we have to make choices.
Oh yeah.
You know from the beginning, right is right and wrong's wrong, but we make choices, and then those choices play out. But I'm not saying that there aren't things that make those choices more difficult or that push you in ways. I'm not trying to. I understand that, and it's a very real thing, and we all struggle with that too, right? But at the end of the day, like you said, if you can't relate with trying to search for something. Like, I feel like we're all wired to search for something. Now, not in the sense of like God, it's there, that God wants us to search for him. But sin gets in the way. Because like you said, your dad had stuff. Well, that got thrown on top of that, of your life. And then mom had stuff, and it escalates and it turns into here you are now, right? But the cool thing is that through all that, God was still pursuing. And you're right. You don't have to go to jail or whatever. He's pursuing. Even if you can't relate to that part of her story, God is pursuing you. He's pursuing you every day. You say, well, I can't hear him. I don't hear anything. That's usually because we're hearing so much other crap.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, have you really
real quiet?
Yeah. Like, have you taken the time to kind of put yourself in a jail cell and really get quiet? Like, have you considered that? Because it seems like when you were there, he had you right where he needed you to be to get you away from everything else. And there was nothing else you really could do. Like you said, I mean, you did have a few things you could do, but at the end of the day, 8 hours is a long day. That's a lot of reading. That's a lot of Jesus time, a lot of praying, a lot of Bible studies. There's
24 hours in a day.
Yeah, but you sleep in some of them.
And I swear it was like you want to sleep so much more than you can.
Right. But dadgum, they make
loud and lights but anyways, yeah.
This is not the Hilton, people.
Right.
This is not the Hilton. Okay, so current day now, how do you continue to integrate your faith in your life? Like, how does that still, I mean, clearly it plays a big part. Clearly you're plugged into church. You've found a place in different ministries, but outside of all that, like, how is that still the driving force every day?
Well, I still pursue God's truth. So I have quiet time with him in the mornings. Whether that's devotionals or, it's kind of evolved over the years. I did the chronological Bible study, and that changed my life, especially with studying the Bible. Serving, I really love to serve people. It's my love language. But at work, I've found a way to, it's a nonprofit. And you have to just be careful anywhere, right? In work with how much you bring your faith to the conversation. But I've found God leads me to these opportunities in conversations with people to still talk about it all the time.
I love that.
I know, me too.
It's like the loophole.
It's wild. I don't know how only God can get away with it, because there have been probably times when I've crossed what they would say is the professional line in regards to my faith being brought up, and God's protection, God's been there. And so he just brings it to my heart. And so the fact that I can go to work and serve, because God has made me to be that kind of person, and still bring him up as often as I can. He's woven into every part of my life. And I know that people say work is work and personal life is personal life, but you're at work 8 hours of the day.
Yeah.
That's a large part of your life.
Yeah.
If you're not talking about your life when you're at work, I think you're a psycho. I don't see how that's possible.
Exactly.
I don't understand people who
that.
I don't want to talk about my family life at work. Why? I want to talk about my family all the time.
Right.
I want to talk about my friends all the time. I want to talk about God all the time, because this is my life and that's my life. And so,
right. So how do you sit in a cubicle and not do any of that?
Right. I don't get it. And so I don't sit in a cubicle. And so maybe that would be different. I thank you, Jesus. I don't sit in a cubicle.
He knew you couldn't take it.
Right. But yeah, I've just been so blessed with being able to weave him into every part of my life.
So what is the future like for Lauren? Like do you have any goals? Is it just every day is a new day? So, or is there anything brewing on the horizon out there for Lauren?
I don't know the answer to that question. I don't know.
That's okay. Neither do I. I don't know what's brewing for me either tomorrow.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I'm doing this live in the moment kind of thing right now, where I'm like, okay, Lord, just today.
Yeah. I mean, I have some thoughts on what I would love to see happen, but I trust that God is going to, because God might change my heart on those things.
Right.
I don't know. So I don't have an answer to that.
What does the scripture say is like, I'm going to give you the Miranda version. So, it's cool to have your ideas.
Yes.
But we're going to do it my way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he wants you to have ideas, and he wants you to bring them to him. And so I do, and I will continue to, and just let him kind of
let him water them and
yeah.
H2O them.
Yeah.
Do the whole, let them sprout, see where they go. I love that. So I usually end the same way. I'm a creature of habit, right? So I always say like message of hope or reflection. So for the listeners, what would you say to them that are facing similar challenges or similar struggles, that haven't had that moment, what would your, if it's a verse, if it's just encouragement, like, what would you say to them? What's your message of hope for them?
I would have to say God is a God of second chances. And so there's nothing that you have done that cannot be redeemed. And you don't have to use it against yourself. And other people might. Yeah, they might. But you don't have to against yourself, because God does not use it against you. I'm in Region, and one of our intro thing is, my name is, and I have a new life in Christ. Okay, so my name is Lauren, and I have a new life in Christ. And God has redeemed me from shame of my past. I don't have shame of my past. And I think that there are still people who think that we should feel shame about certain things in our past. And I just want you to say that you don't. You don't have to feel shame. And my life verse is James 1:2. Consider it all or pure joy when given trials of any kind. Life is not peaches and rainbows all the time. But I know now that when I go through something that's hard, because I have him, I can have joy in that. Not joy, like Matt said the other day, like he took it out of my heart and out of my mind. He said, you don't have to find joy from every situation. Like, because somebody has cancer, I don't find joy in that, but I can find joy while I'm in it. And, so now life is just, when there's challenges and struggles, it's just not as hard as it was before. Before, I had identity crisis after identity crisis, because I had no idea that there was hope in Jesus. And now I do know there's hope in Jesus. And I can consider it all joy.
So, as always, I always recommend to listeners that if you are struggling, if any of this resonates with you, go seek help. Go talk to somebody. You don't have to be a member of a church to go and sit down with a pastor or just share your feelings. There's lots of resources here in the area we live in, which is in Houston, and many around the state. And I always offer to please reach out to our ministry, Stepping Forward, fwd.org, and we will help you in any way to link up with some of those ministries or nonprofits or churches, because this is not something you can do alone. Like, you need support, you need relationship. Sometimes like, seriously, you need therapy. Sometimes you need to like talk to there's nothing to be ashamed of. That's the first step to everything changing. Just like Lauren had an invitation in that moment, she took it, and everything after that changed. Again, it doesn't clean it all up. It doesn't wipe it all away. It doesn't just disappear. It's not Mr. Clean here, but it looks different. It is different. It feels different. Lauren is different, but that's not because she just woke up and showered it off. Like, God came in just like the carpet cleaner. He came in, he brought the dirt to the surface, and then he sucked it all up, and she's made new, just like the carpet. And I don't mean to be silly with that, but it's just an illustration of something that you see all the time. But that's what God does in our lives. He makes us new. Carpet is not new when you clean it.
Right.
It's still old carpet, but it's made new. And that's what God wants to do. He wants to make you new. So we encourage you to seek help, look at the choices, start spending some time with God. Maybe you don't know what that looks like. Maybe it's just saying a simple prayer that just says, Lord, I don't know where to start. Help me.
Oh, yeah.
And let me tell you, that's a powerful prayer.
That's the perfect place to start.
Because people will start dropping in like flies, and you'll be like, I don't understand. Like Lauren says, I don't understand. It don't make sense. It doesn't need to make sense.
Right.
You just need to make the connection. You don't get power if you don't plug into a source. Your source is plugging in through prayer, and he will take care of the rest. Lauren's story shows that. My story shows that. Season 1 stories show that. It's person after person after person who doesn't deserve anything.
Yeah.
But yet is covered by more grace, more mercy, more hope, more love, more peace, even in the darkest trials. Like you heard it from Lauren, just like Paul. She was in jail and had more peace than she had had in her whole entire life in jail. That's what, like, I don't even have words past that. So I wrote here, like Mary Magdalene, Lauren, your story is marked by struggles, in your case with addiction or self-centered choices. And the parallel lies in the theme of encountering something greater than yourself. Whether it's, in an encounter with Jesus like it was with Mary Magdalene, or a spiritual experience that was similar to yours, where you had this amazing voice that you heard. It wasn't God's voice, but you look over and you see this lady in a prison ministry, and she just invites you to come on down. Mm-hmm. I don't have a Bible. Well, I got you one, babe.
Yeah, yeah.
And it has your name. It might not be written on it, but it's got it all in it. So either way, these things lead to positive transformation. And both the stories between Mary Magdalene and Lauren just highlight the universal theme of God's forgiveness, God's redemption, and the power of faith to bring about profound personal change. And this should serve as powerful reminders that no one is beyond redemption, and that encounters with grace and faith can lead to a new and purposeful life. So, Lauren, I thank you for coming and just sharing this message of hope and renewal, for letting me jump on the carpet cleaning bit. It's going to be stuck in my head. We're probably going to be talking about this for a long time. We're going to talk about this a long time. So I just thank you because you're just honest. And, that's, people need to hear that. So thank you for coming. I hope maybe you'll come back one day and come play with me again.
Yeah, I would love to. Thank you so much for having me. All
right, guys. So, that's going to wrap up our episode today. We are so thankful that you took the time out of your day to listen to Lauren's story and just to get hopefully some reminders of God's goodness and his love in your life. Don't forget to come back next week and check out our next interview with our guest. I promise it'll be great, so you don't want to miss it. So have a great week, y'all.
Thank you for joining us on today's episode of Southern Soul Chats. We hope you found inspiration, encouragement, and valuable insights to carry with you through your week. We invite you to subscribe to Southern Soul Chats so that you never miss an episode. We are a branch of Stepping Forward Ministries, a 501c3 Christian nonprofit, and we kindly ask for you to consider making a donation today. Your contribution will play a vital role in sustaining the podcast and allowing us to continue sharing these impactful stories of faith. As you leave today, remember your story is a part of a bigger narrative, and your faith has power to guide your path. Keep stepping forward with hope, trust, and assurance that you're never alone. This is Dr. Miranda Ferguson. We hope you have a great week and keep stepping forward.